This is Erwin Rosenberg.
My name is Erwin Rosenberg, born in 1915, February 12, in Nelipeno. We went to United States 1925 and 27, and the rest of it remained in Nelipeno. Started the war, which started 1939, 1940, June, approximately 16, they took us to forced labor. From forced labor, we went to Munkach. We were there till end of December. From there, again, they sent us home, which we were home till June 16, which from there, they took me from the job, which I was working in Svalava company, with soldiers which were Hungarian, and they took us cattle train and took us out to Yasin, Poland and Czechoslovakia. From there, they took us on trucks and they took us out to Poland, the direction which we never knew which way or where and what they're going to do with us. Finally, we got to Kamenets Podolsk, which we didn't know right away. It is Kamenets Podolsk. While we went going down from the trucks, we found out it is Kamenets Podolsk. It was under the old city, which surrounding us with soldiers, Gestapos, all around with machine guns. Everybody knew what's coming already. Screaming was going on because we were pushed one on top of the other. Shooting started. That was late afternoon. Fire started also. Which way and how, we don't know exactly. But it seems to me it was gasoline barrels put up, which they went off like with mines. And the shooting was going on till time which we don't know what time it was, late at night. It quieted down, quiet completely, when I started to feel myself if I'm still in one piece. And I could move, but I start to hear soldiers coming around between the massacre. Blood was floating as a small lake, I would say. Finally, I saw the soldiers coming close. I pulled on top of me dead bodies, which I don't know who it was or how many. They were going around checking if somebody is alive. When they left, which way, I never know. But as soon as I hear it's quiet, I start to look up to see if I am capable or able to move from there and escape, which I did. I started creeping till I came to the end of the massacre, went into the forest and started to run. Running, which way, I don't know. Going further, deeper to the enemy, or going back, even home, which again is the enemy. But I had to take that chance to go, and I went down the forest, came through small villages on the side of the villages, which I heard also barking dogs which soldiers was controlling, which they knew if any case somebody escaped, the dogs will get him. Finally, I got to Horodenka. How? It was through the Dniester. I still had with me some money which I gave somebody which was a farmer, and he took me across the Dniester to the other side. There, finally, I got caught. I wasn't the only one. I found myself again between the Spintalayid, small children, old people, young, crying, which they were confused, which I saw already. They didn't know exactly what could happen. I went through already once. Finally, they took us in to the little town Horodenka. They was sitting us down on the ground. Everything was quiet down. Then Hungarian soldiers, a lot of them, came on horses and they started to run over us. Happened to be there a boy by Itzu Kleiman, which he was an ambulance driver, and he recognized me, and he came over to me. He wanted to give me money to help myself. I couldn't take it because I was already in the air, which I couldn't escape, didn't have the strength even. And he left because he had to drive the ambulance for the Hungarian soldiers, for the Hungarian army. Finally, they got us up and they chased us to the Dniester. They said we should go into the water. Sure, everybody started to go that way. Old people couldn't swim, they didn't want to go, they started to shoot. Young people, some of them weren't capable to swim. They were shooting them down in front of the Dniester. Which one they start to go in the water, they start to swim, they were shooting after them. Happened so, with me, I start to swim on the side of the board on the side of the Dniester. And I went about a mile, maybe less. And I came out and went back in the forest. And I started to run again. While I was going in the forest, I found a little group. They asked me where I'm coming from. And I asked the same thing. Happened so that I found there people which I knew them. They were from Veretsky and Volos, the Steinbergs. We went all the way down through forest again, eating grass or mushrooms, whatever we got. We came back to the border of Czechoslovakia, which was Rachov. They caught us. They took us into the city, held us overnight. Early in the morning, they took us back. While taking us back, walking up the border, they start to take one by one, and we heard shooting. We knew we are the next. After that, we heard more shooting. The soldiers didn't come right away back. One soldier remained with us, and we start to run. They were shooting after us. We remained very few of us. We went back to the forest. Night, cold. Finally, we got back to the Polish territory. We found ourselves in Charkov, which the night when we came there, they took the Jewish community, which was still remained, to the cemetery and they shut them down. We knew we are next. We had to go. We went again, we came to a little city, Slavsk. The Ukraine took us over. They were more murderers than the Germans. They cut us down with knives. They took small kids throwing to the walls. They put us into a stable. We were that time a big group, I would say between 1,500 or 2,000. One woman went over to the head of the guard, asked him if she could light candles. That was a Friday. It's hard to believe that we knew what day it is, but Shabbos we never forgot. He said, yes, you could. As soon as she went in, she lit the candle. Shooting started. That we want to burn up the stable. Again, a small percentage remained of us. While the shooting was going on, everybody was running which way he could and where he could escape the death. Finally, we came back on the border, which was that time already Hungarian, it was Czechoslovakia before. They caught us again. They took us again, walking all this time, what I'm saying where we were in all these cities. We didn't ride a car, we didn't ride a truck, and not a horse wagon, everything by foot. They told us to knee down, and we were walking for miles on our knees. The end, they got us up, and they took us from one village to the other. To which village we came, we were less and less. But they picked up on the way others which they were running away. We got back a big group, which they had more pleasure to see Jewish blood floating. Finally, we came again near Colomay. Can't forget. The place was again a big massacre, which water you didn't see for weeks to drink, but blood, Jewish blood, you saw enough. That was already in the late fall, cold, in the forest snow. No clothes, no food, no heat. Keeping us warm, if we had a chance to sit down or lay down, close to each other, and that was our heat. Finally, I escaped again from the group. Some people, they said, you take a chance, but I said, I have no other choice, and I did go. I came to a small village. The name I wouldn't know. And I didn't see that somebody would able to help me there. And I went again, and I came to Lavochna, which is also a small town from Poland. Came to a farmer, and I asked him if he could give words to the other side, to a small village, that I'm here if they could help me. He got in touch. He got paid from the people, and he took me over the border. From there, I went to Munkac. I was hiding out in the Yiddish Gas by the name by Srolizer Engel on the attic. At that time, my father was still alive. I didn't see him. Well, somebody came over to me and says, my father passed away. I didn't know what to do, to go home or not. So they went to the Munkacher rabbi, asked him the question what I should do. He said I shouldn't go because the whole village would be in danger. I had to accept it. I couldn't even go to the Levi of my own father. But Shiva I sat on the attic. Across the street was a shul. I knew their davening. I used to say Kaddish for myself up in the attic. Finally they came around to tell me the soldiers, which the Hungarian soldiers, making a city look over if somebody from the people who escaped from Poland are not there or not hiding. I had to go. I went to another place, which was Rosvigev. That's on the other side of Munkac, over the bridge. You couldn't stay in the house. That was end of March, 1942. Times which I knew is danger. I used to go in the cold water and hiding in the water. As much I could. Used to go out, there was a couple of bushes, sitting a little bit, go back in the water. People are asking me how I survived. I myself can answer that. That I couldn't take anymore. I had to move again. I went up to Yilnitsa, near Orshava. I was hiding out by a family, Teichmann. On the stable, in the attic, in the hay. There at least was warm. The Jewish family gave me food. Looking around where they could get me food. It wasn't a long time. Didn't took too long. I had to go from there too. The enemy was always close. I got in touch with my own village, and I went there, over the hills. And I made a hole in a side room under the floor, which a chair size fit in, and I went in there and they covered me up. I was there, which once a day, when it was possible, they handed me food. Now I think you can imagine, not too much air, darkness. Not so easy to survive. But I felt I must survive, and that kept me alive. I was there for 3 months in that hole. Finally, physically I couldn't take anymore. Mentally for sure not. I was broken up. I went out of there. I figured I'll go in the forest. Maybe I'll survive there. I didn't go too far. They caught me. They took me in to Svaljevo. They used to call it in Hungarian Kémelhárító, the FBI. If I didn't have enough, they gave me the rest. They were questioning me, where are the rest which they are escaped? I said, I don't know. They paid me with beatings, I fell off, fainted, they poured water on me. They burned my feet with candles. I should just tell them where the rest they are. Finally they got through with me that I couldn't even talk or stand up. They took me from there to the prison. They locked me up, which I found there another man, which was a friend of mine, Shmuel Apfeldorfer. Shmuel Apfeldorfer is now in Israel. Where he is, I don't know exactly, but I think he is in Israel. Next morning they took me to Kira helmets, which was Goron and Riche and Kira helmets. There were 3 camps which they concentrate against the Jews which they escaped, or they got on this side of the border from Poland to Hungarian to get them back together. We were working there on farms. Food we had, but not enough. Finally, from there, they let me home. I wasn't long. I was 2 weeks. They took me to forced labor. Forced labor to Kasho. From Kasho, they distributed everybody to different places. Me, they happened to send to Soil near Debrecen. We were working on the railroad. We were helping a bridge to make for the railroad. They knew the old bridge had to be connected, and they found out I'm a mechanic, steel man. They wanted me to burn apart, to move together the old with the new bridge. I kept it not to do it. I tried to work hard, to make believe I'm working, but I held up that the train shouldn't go on time. Finally, they came over to me. He says, if you're not making it in a half hour, you are dead. I tried. It was more than in a half hour, but they didn't have no choice. Finally, I did it. I came back to camp. Instead to go for supper, they took me out to a tree and they hanged me. Now, I don't know if some people saw how they hang from a tree, not by the neck. A rope was wrapped around the bottom of the feet, coming up in the back. The hand tied up on the back loose. When they picked up the rope, the shoulders, you felt it going out of place for 2 hours. Nobody hung for 2 hours not to faint. I did too. Water helped for them to wake me up. I should know and I should feel my pains. 2 hours are down. They let me down. They brought me supper. Supper was 1 plate of soup. The soup was put down near my feet and I had to stand up, which I couldn't. I fell. They got me up. I had to spoon off the whole soup, bending down every soup and swallow it. Then I went to my bunk and I lay there till the morning, not sleeping, swelled up. But next day, I had to go back to work. While we were working, we were there for a couple of months. Everybody tried to go back home for a furlough. Some people got weekends. Finally, I got one too. Coming back, I was late with 1 train, which wasn't my fault, and they knew it. I was hanged for 4 hours. I tried to sabotage on the job as much I can. I was working also on the switchboard as a mechanic. Instead to fix, I tried to do something which shouldn't be right. Finally, 10 boys got hung that day for 6 hours. 3 died. The rest survived, but not for long. 2 more died. From Seoul, we went to Budapest. There also forced labor. That was 1944, when the bombing took place day and night. We were in a company. While the bombing was going on, we had to go up and fix out in the city and fix electricity or plumbing or whatever had to be done. I wasn't volunteered as a mechanic. But a friend of mine, not willing, slipped and he said, we have a mechanic here which he could fix that truck, they needed it. I didn't have no choice. I was punished. No suppers. Tied up for the night. Finally, the bombing was so one after the other, they figured they're gonna take us from Budapest someplace else. They came around with a story that Red Cross will take us over. We knew it's a trick, but we didn't have no choice. Most of them volunteered. I said, I'm never gonna volunteer. But I happened to be in the group anyway. Who didn't volunteer, they took us anyway. Took us to the old city, Buda, to a school. They showed us that they don't want to fool us, they gave us a good supper. Supper was that time good because we never had as much than we got that time. Started getting dark. All of a sudden we hear like soldiers coming around, and they surrounded the whole school. And they took us out of the station, the cattle wagons, and took us out to Kőszeg in a concentration camp, which was a concentration camp between Hungarian and Austria. We were living there, factory where they used to make bricks. Sleeping headquarters was in the drying chamber. It's not a chamber, just a roof, no walls. It was winter time. Night, we were laying down. In the morning, we were covered with snow. In the morning, we used to get maybe a half a cup black coffee, 1-inch square bread. Walking out the door, which they called it a door, counting, everybody got with a big stick over the head. 1, 2, 3, that's how they counted. They couldn't count otherwise, except they saw blood. We went to work, making digits for the soldiers. Used to work 12 and 14 hours a day. Go at night, coming at night. One day we went out, they were counting us, and a man got out. He says, I'm not going to work for Hitler anymore. He was shot right there. A couple of days later, one boy escaped. He was the third man from me. By the counting in the morning, they realized that one man is missing. They took 10 boys, to the white wall, what they called it. If we're not going to tell them why and where the boy is, we're going to be shot. Nobody talked. The fire squad was right there. But God is always above us. Bombers came. Sirens started to blow. They got scared and they left us. Escaped again that. From there, seems to me that time, now I know better, they were in trouble already. That was already in beginning of 45. They were afraid the Russian will come in. They took us to Dachau. Excuse me, Mauthausen. We were there for 2 days only. If I didn't see enough, that I saw more. And who was that? Jews, our own blood. From there, they took us to Günskirchen. On the way, they were eliminating us, shooting us down. They should have less trouble to take us there. Günskirchen, again a concentration camp, which we were there about 6 or 7 weeks. Food, very little. Water, just on prescriptions. Who was the doctor? Jewish man. Not to blame him, but he couldn't give prescription because he played with his life. Finally, I got a prescription. When I got the prescription, I went out early in the morning. Time, I don't know, but I know it was early in the morning. It was maybe 50 feet away, the tanks from the water. It took me at least 3 hours to get there, creeping on my belly. Finally, I got there. There is a man standing, which we called it capo. Jewish capo. He asked me what I want. I handed him the prescription. Instead of water, he beat me up. I remained there, not knowing where I am, what happened. That was the day, May 5th, which I found out a week later, when I got to myself. Friends knew I went out for water. They were looking for me, and they found me laying in the mud. From there, U.S. soldiers took me to Wells in a hospital, which from the beginning I didn't know where I am. When I got to myself, I saw him laying in a bed, clean bed, nurses around me, nuns around me. I couldn't understand. I asked what it is. The war is over. We hope Jewish blood wouldn't float anymore. I started to cooperate there. The first couple of days, we didn't get too much to eat, except warm water and maybe a noodle or two. The truth, I cursed them, all United States Army, because I didn't know the reason why they don't give us to eat. And we knew United States has plenty what to eat. But we found out that's for our benefit. A lot of our boys or girls which survived, and if they came to food, they overate themselves, they died. And who was under control was better for them. Finally, about 6 weeks later, they discharged me from the hospital. Where shall I go? Went home. Home, which we didn't know if the home is ours. Went home for a reason to see if somebody from the family remained. Came there, I didn't find nobody from the family. 2 brothers, father and mother, sister-in-law with children, that all remained in concentration. How they died, you know. Was only one way, the German way, and the Hungarian way, and the Ukrainian way. Gas chamber or shooting him down, or slaughter him down. I was there for a couple of months. Finally, I picked up myself, went up to Prague. From Prague, I went to České Kamenice. I got a job as an iron worker, machinist in a shop, and I was working, minding my own business. Had an apartment. I got married. I was there till beginning of April. A friend of mine came over, Martin Murmustin. He says to me, the way he used to call me home, Itsu, you better go away from here, they're looking for you. Who was looking for me? That's the communists. It wasn't enough from the Nazis, I started with communism. They wanted me to join their group, their party. I refused. I had to leave overnight, over the border, left everything what I had already, came to Austria, on American zone, came to Munich, registered. A couple of days later, they sent us to Gabardey to camp, DP camp. A couple of weeks later, they start to organize our vaccination school from the Ort, was organized, and I was one of the first instructors, teaching boys the trade, machinist, automobile, and driving. Working for 1 pack a week, 1 pack cigarette a week. For a couple of months. Then they gave us pay, which I couldn't cash it. They gave us £10 a month. Then I want to go from Germany away. It was hard to get in touch with my family, which I had here already, sister and two brothers. I didn't know the address. I wrote a letter, Chicago, community, Rabbi Eliyahu Chaim Berger. 3 days later, I got a telegram. They're sending me out papers. In 1947, I had to leave the Ort. They wanted me to go to Israel, and I wanted to go to my rest of the family, which remained safe in the United States. I went to Munich to work for the Joint, which was a depot, all cars, all trucks from the American zones to repair, to fix them. I was there for 6 weeks as a mechanic. Then I was the leader of the shop till 1949. 1949, I got my visa. Stepped off the boat in New York, October 1st, 1949. Newborn man and wife, which I had here a brother, took us up, settled us down, got a job right away. Since then, we live a happy life, and I hope and wish and pray to God that we all Jews, what went through, we paid already for the rest of the remaining world, for all the Jews. And all the Jews should have their own home, and that is Israel. And God bless Israel.
Lodge, 1921. I lived with my parents to 1939 in Lodge, and then Hitler came to Lodge and he closed the ghetto. There we worked in a shop where we made like uniforms for the German soldiers. We were treated very badly. We were starving, and I was only very young, and I had to work without pay. We got only a starvation diet there, 1 piece of bread for several days, and nothing else. We were swollen from hunger. We were sick, and then the day came. It was the 18th of August, 1944, and we went to Auschwitz. There they selected all the people to the gas chambers where my parents went, my little sister, 11 years old, and then we survived 3 sisters. Then after this, they sent us after a few days to Birkenau. In Birkenau, we didn't work, but we were very badly treated. We lived together in one barrack with gypsies, and they hit us every minute of the day and night. We couldn't sleep. We didn't get any drop of water. And the starvation continued all the time. Then they took us to Rosenberg, Over there it was the very same situation. We starved, we was swollen, we was dirty, we was full of lice. And then after a while, I don't even remember how many days or how many nights, we didn't have any watches, we didn't have anything to look. And then after selections and after beatings and after all the worst thing in the world, we were sent to a concentration camp to, what was it, Milhausen. Over there, no, Milhausen. Yeah. Then we worked there for 6 months. We had the war ammunition. Right. And then we worked there. We had like a piece of bread a day and one soup, and that's all. They woke us up. They asked us to leave the barracks like 4 o'clock in the morning, and we marched to work like 50 miles, barefoot, without clothes, without anything, without food, and we worked 10, 12 hours a day. Then when we came back to the barracks, we had the very same, again selections, again beatings, again all kind of misery. Then after 6 months, it was 6 weeks before the war ended, they sent us to Bergen-Belsen. As soon as we arrived, the typhus was like fire there on everyone, and we got infected and we got sick, all of us. No water, no bread, nothing. Beatings and sicknesses, diseases. And we were full of lice, full of swollen legs. We couldn't move our legs. And then we got very sick after a few days, and we were transported to I can't tell a hospital. It wasn't on the floor somewhere in another barrack, where one was laid on top of the other sick. When you woke up in the morning, if it was a morning, I don't know, it was always dark, you saw that the gills underneath you were dead, 3, 5 dead ones. They took us out, and we remained as long as we could lay there with open eyes. No food, no water, no medical attention whatsoever. Then we lay there for the 6th last week of the war. Then all of a sudden, I was unconscious. I didn't hear, I didn't see a thing. All of a sudden, a soldier came up to us, to girls who could understand a word, and they said that the war is over. And they asked us to sit up, like to the wall, against the wall. But we couldn't, we were too sick to do it. So we laid as we laid, and we didn't believe it either, that it is the liberation already. We thought it's another Hitler trick, you know. They wanted us to transport to the gas chambers. And we were glad for it, because this misery had to end, you know. So I was very glad that finally it comes, the good time comes, they're going to burn us up, and that's the finish. But it was different. It was really the liberation. They took us...
United States? What?
English.
English, yeah.
Yeah. They took us into an ambulance on a stretcher. They covered us because we were very dirty, all covered with lice, all covered with patches of God knows what kind of disease this was, skin diseases. And they transported us to a very clean hospital where we saw already, if we could open our eyes, we saw the English nurses. And then we understood that it must be something. They cleaned us, they washed us, they gave us medicine, they gave us a little to drink, a little water. We couldn't stand any food then yet. They gave us a little food, and little by little we got well. And when I was like, 3 weeks, I think, or 4 weeks, I was in this hospital, and then I start to lift my head, I start to see on my eyes, and I could move my legs. So they took us, after 3 weeks, they took us to Sweden. And then my tragedy, my personal tragedy started again, because when I got better from typhus, they saw from an X-ray that I have a very collapsed lung. I was very sick, and my lung was all collapsed, and I was very sick. For a year after the war, I was laying in a hospital bed, and then I got better. I was like 2 years in convalescent home, and then I got...
And then you came to the United States?
No. Then it's not important. Then I lived in Sweden for a long time. And, I got married. I went to Israel. That's not important. But the important thing is, I was in Lodz Ghetto.
And the dates?
1939, September to 1944, August.
Were you in the same town before the ghetto was set up?
I was born in Lodz, and I was in the ghetto until the last minute they transported us to Auschwitz.
When was the ghetto in your town set up?
It's September 1939.
Good. What anti-Jewish actions were taken before the ghetto was established?
They didn't want to give anyone work. No Jew had the right to work. No Jew had the right to go to higher schools. No Jew had the right to live everywhere before. That's from Polacks. And it was very bad. They treated us like animals, not like people. My mother went to, when I was a baby, like I was 5, 6 years old, and she wanted me to get into a kindergarten. And when they got to know that we're Jewish, they didn't accept me. Would you believe it? So how lucky you are in this country. It's true. I remember this because I wanted so badly to go to a kindergarten. My mother was working always, she was our working lady, and I wanted to be among children. They didn't let me just because we were Jews.
Did any of your family live in the same ghetto with you?
My whole family.
Okay, what work did you do in the ghetto?
Uniforms for the German people. They forced us to do it. I didn't choose my work.
Right. If you were a refugee in the ghetto from another place, what was the local inhabitants' attitude towards you?
Nothing, the same. We all suffered the same. We all liked each other. When you were in need, you liked people.
If you stayed in your hometown, how did your townspeople view refugees from other places? Give details regarding refugees.
The same. I treated the people like it would be, because I knew that they are the same Jews, the same suffering and everything the same. And I don't know anyone who treated them worse.
Was it allowed?
I don't know.
All right. Was it allowed to leave the ghetto at first, and for how long?
Not in Lodz. No. We was closed in, and that's it. See, the Warsaw ghetto was allowed. They dealt with their own people, but the Christian people. They had some ways, but not the Lodz ghetto. Lodz ghetto was closed up the minute they came in, and that's it. We didn't have any contact with Christian people.
Can you approximate the size of the ghetto? One or more ghettos in the same town?
No. One ghetto, I wouldn't know. Several streets, but I wouldn't know. We was accumulated in 1.5, that means 2 rooms, a room and a kitchen, 15 people, 3 families, 5.
Was there a wall, a wooden fence, a barbed wire fence?
Barbed wire, electric barbed wire, yeah, and all over the German soldiers. Nobody dared to go there.
The organization of the guard at the gates, so the hours of the entry, the pass system.
No passes, no entrance, no exits, nothing.
And the guards were either what? German, Polish?
German,
They were
only German.
Did you have any knowledge of what went on outside of Nazi territory?
No. We then didn't have a radio, no papers, no nothing in the world.
She's answering my own question.
Why?
Because that's the question.
Yeah.
Were there any papers?
Nothing
Did
in
you
the whole world.
send or receive letters from abroad?
No.
No. Okay. When did you know the truth about the extermination, let's say the gas chambers?
When we were in Auschwitz.
Only in Auschwitz?
even when we walked many, many miles, Auschwitz had such a long, long road until they came into this place where the barracks were. And we walked and we saw the girls, the people, shaved their heads and without clothes. We thought they were crazy. It's a crazy house. And they asked us, if you have a piece of bread over from 4.5 years in the ghetto, we didn't have any bread. But they inside were more hungry than we. And they asked us, throw it over the fence. You're going to look in 10 minutes as we do. So we thought that they are crazy, really. They're sick people. In 10 minutes, we looked like them. They're going to take everything from you, but we didn't believe it. And then we got the news that we are in Auschwitz.
Did you have any personal or family plans to escape?
No escape. No one did. Not from the Lodge ghetto.
People did.
No. Miriam, people didn't. Maybe before the ghetto was closed. Why?
No.
You know that
No, we don't know. No, I'm just teasing. What did you eat in the ghetto at different times?
Oh, please.
The size of the ration, the method of distribution, and who distributed?
The German people did. We had cards and they distributed it. But always in a quarter, as they promised, as it was. I was left with my cards because they never distribute so much to the stores where we were allowed to buy or to take. I don't remember even. And whenever you came to the window to get your ration bread, it was closed already, no more. Because a black market went on. We didn't know the good people didn't have anything to do with it. But the people who deal with it, they sold it for good money, for diamonds, who knows, but we never got.
Tell me the size of the living space throughout the time. How many people, let's say in the apartment or the room where you lived, the cooking and sanitary arrangements, and the availability of coal or wood or heating.
No water. In 1942, we had to lay in bed, all our kids, all the ghetto, because we didn't got one piece of coal. The water in the room was frozen.
And how many people in the apartment or the room?
15 people in 2 rooms.
In 2 rooms.
Yeah.
And there were no cooking?
It was 4 kids and 4 kids. No cooking.
I can imagine.
So you could cook.
Yeah.
No bread, you didn't have any bread.
I know, all right. What pre-war political parties were there?
Pre-war?
Political parties.
I wouldn't know. It was a million. The Jews had their own parties, the Polacks had their own. I wouldn't know that.
Do you know what was their relative strength and who were the Jewish leaders in the town before 1939? The Jewish leaders in your town? You don't know?
I wouldn't know.
All right, and you don't know what, during the war, they died, or you don't have any idea, I'm sure?
No, I wouldn't know.
All right.
If I didn't know them before, I wouldn't know.
How was the first Judenrat appointed?
How?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that either, because they didn't ask me, they didn't give me any news.
Do you know who were the people who were in it?
Yeah. His name was Rumkowski, but they killed him in Auschwitz, you know it.
He was
in Rumkowski.
Yeah, I know. He was the head of the Judenrat?
Yes, he was the oldest, the eldest that they called him, like the top of the Judenrat.
All right, try to describe the Judenrat's development as far as leadership and organization.
I wouldn't know that. I have no idea. We just struggled and were closed inside, and I never knew anything in the ghetto, really not. Or maybe I was stupid enough. I don't know. I really don't know.
Regarding the Jewish police, right? How many policemen were there? The Jewish police. You have any idea? No.
There were plenty, but would I know things like... When you're not reading for 4.5 years a paper, when you're not listening to a... Can you know everything? And when you have to struggle for every piece of bread, can you know how many policemen to get ahead?
Right, okay.
I would never.
Tell me the date of arrival at Rosenberg. From where?
Ravensbrück.
Yeah. I can't pronounce it.
Yeah.
And from what or by what method of transportation you got there?
It's a good question, but I don't think I can answer that because they had a method. When they put us to the a train. It wasn't a train for passengers. It was for animals, all clothes, cattle. Yeah. And we didn't know if we had to go like 10 kilometers. They schlepped us.
But you went by cattle car, right?
Yes. They schlepped us 3, 4, 5, 7 days, and no one knew when it's day or night. We don't know that.
Do you know when you arrived? You don't know the arrival. What about for Bergen-Belsen?
Bergen-Belsen was already the liberation, There I came 6 weeks before the war ended.
And by what method did they take you there?
The same, the very same.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
And what about in Milhausen?
Milhausen, that was before the Bergen-Belsen.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. Milhausen was like a working place. We had to work there. In the others, we didn't work. We laid only like lumps.
And what date did you arrive there? Do you know? You have any
in
idea?
Milhausen. Oh boy, it must have been in September. I won't know the date.
Oh, okay, fine.
In 1944.
And you also went by cattle car?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. Did you arrive alone or with members of the family, and what happened to them?
With my 2 sisters.
To Ravensburg?
No, first to Milhausen.
You arrived with your family?
Right, with my 2 sisters, not with the family.
Right.
The family went in Auschwitz.
Right.
And with my 2 sisters, and we were together. They shouldn't know that we are sisters, otherwise they would kill us,
And in Ravensburg?
Ravensburg?
You were there with your 2 sisters also, right?
Yes.
And
all the
time?
All the time.
Okay, was there a selection on arrival?
Oh, yeah. They took all 3 our clothes, All the time we had...
This is in all 3?
We didn't have any clothes, but when we left Auschwitz...
Yeah.
For Ravensburg, they gave us like a schmatter, like a thing after the people they burned.
Yeah.
They cremated.
Yeah.
So anything. I could have a size 2. My little sister, she was only a young teenage, Frida. She had a black gown and 7 sizes too big. This way we looked.
So at each camp, at each one, you had a selection?
No. Selections we had, but no new clothes, no other clothes.
Right.
We slept this clothes as long as it lasts.
Did you know what it meant, like when they made selections?
Oh, yes.
You did know.
We knew that they selected, the walking strength and the people who has to go to the camp.
All right, we'll start with this one.
But most of the job they made.
Ravensburg was the first one you went to?
Ravensburg, right.
Okay, now describe the location and the size of the camp of Ravensburg.
I wouldn't know that.
You
It
don't
was
know?
tremendous. It
Where
was
was it located?
thousands barracks. Who knows?
And it's guard system?
Yes, they watched us, the guards. We went even with a guard, and not when we needed to go to the toilet. Yeah,
Oh.
not when we needed, but when they wanted. So I would know, they guard us all the time.
Do you know when the camp was set up, Ravensburg? No. You don't know. What about Bergen-Belsen?
I don't know that either.
Do you know you don't know the location, the size?
No.
What about its guard system? Again, the Germans?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Mulhausen, the same thing. I'm answering this. All right. Name the commanders, officers, and men that you remember.
I don't know.
None of them?
They had other names. He gave them. We named them. One is Lalush, one is this, one is Old Man, one is, but we didn't know their name, no.
Okay. How many Germans guarded the camp, let's say in Ravensburg?
I didn't know that.
You wouldn't know?
Thousands of thousands.
Thousands. You wouldn't know the difference between the Germans and the non-Germans, let's say the Ukrainians or the Letts or anything like that. You wouldn't know the difference.
I don't think we had them.
You only had the Germans?
I think we had only the Germans.
Were the Germans SS or did they belong to other
SS.
units? Only SS.
SS.
Okay. Do you remember incidents that could be used to accuse individual Nazis as war criminals? Do you remember certain incidents that went on? Like
They
beatings?
killed and hanged and everything.
Did you
Sure, we saw it. Sure, we saw it, but we can't mention it because we don't know the names. We don't know who they was.
Would you recognize any of them?
No.
All right.
They looked alike to me.
All right, we'll start with Rosenberg. What was the composition of the inmates? The numbers, let's say the ages, the sex, Jews and non-Jews, towns or areas of origin?
No, it was only girls, first of all, in the age like from 17.
In Rosenberg?
Everywhere. From Auschwitz on.
Yeah.
They didn't let go the very young. Like, for example, I had an 11-year-old sister. She was taller than I was by 11 and slim and everything, but she was too young to work. They only selected in Auschwitz the people who will be able to work. So starting from 17 or 16 up to probably, who knows, 35, 40 the latest.
And the ages, you told me,
Yeah.
sex?
Sex, only girls. We were only
In
everywhere. Yes, everywhere we have only a girl. You're asking
And
her?
Jews and non-Jews?
Bergen-Belsen, you were not only girls.
Bergen-Belsen,
Yes,
yeah.
we were. We
Bergen-Belsen
were. I
were
wasn't in one concentration camp with men.
Okay, now
I
what
wasn't.
were the non-Jews?
Not in Bergen-Belsen. I didn't know.
What about the gypsies you're telling me about?
the gypsies? Yes.
Where was that,
That was
in
in Ravensbrück. No,
In Rosenberg. And they were women?
Yes, only women.
But they were gypsies, so they were non...
We were in one barrack with them, and they killed us. They
Yeah.
killed us.
Now, what did the work consist of in, let's say, Ravensburg?
We didn't work then. I told you. We just. It's like
I
passing
remember.
through this camp.
Yeah.
We just were several days, and then they transported.
Bergen-Belsen?
Only in Milhausen. We worked for 6 months.
And what did the work consist of?
Exclusively women.
Uniforms?
No ammunition.
Ammunition.
Yeah, only in the ghetto I worked by ammunition.
All right. Could you describe the capos, let's say the good ones and the bad ones?
They were good and they were bad. No Jewish couples. Not in our camp. No. In the Milhausen, we had exclusively Jewish girls from Poland. 500 of us. That's it.
And what about the capos? Can you
Maybe in Auschwitz. We had some other Turkish and Hungarian, but who knew?
But
we
you
just
don't-
knew that they are murderers, that's all.
But you can't describe the difference between the good ones and the bad ones, like any incident?
No good couple.
No?
No.
And
No good couple. They had to kill us. They had to do everything to us. Otherwise, they got the beating. If they didn't do it to us, they got it from the German people.
Can you describe the food, let's say at Ravensburg and
Please,
at Bergen-Belsen?
don't be silly.
I know there was
No
one.
food.
Questions like 6.
Stupid questions, really stupid questions. Because we didn't have any food. If they gave us a piece of bread, it has to last for 3 days, like
Right.
such a piece. No food whatsoever.
Okay.
See, when I worked in Milhausen, we had our piece. They gave us once a day a piece of bread.
Yeah.
We could eat it or divide it for supper or and for breakfast. And we had a soup. That's all we got. A soup. It was just like water, just a little water.
Can you describe the daily routine, like the daily routine at each camp?
I told you we didn't have any routine except in. Yeah. Why?
No, because every question is so stupid.
No.
What about
in
meal
routine in all those I told you when we came in, we just went out like 2 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning. Who knows? It was dark yet because we didn't see.
What about in Milhausen?
Listen, except in Milhausen when we were treated as human.
All right, let's see what you
We
did.
walked. We got
From
up
what
like
to
4
what?
o'clock.
Yeah.
They gave us the piece of bread.
Go ahead.
They let us out to the street. I don't know, in front of the barrack, the sailor bell. They counted us, and they just marched with us, watched by the SS and by the couple to work.
Right.
It was maybe 3-4 kilometers, very far. Barefoot, without clothes. We just marched in the winter, in the summer, whenever. We marched to work. There we sat down. We worked for 10, 12 hours, who knows. And then they brought us home. We took a shower. We had showers there. And we ate the second piece of bread. We divided it in two. And we went to
I'd be emaciated.
see, and we still live.
Now,
Isn't that
this next
America?
question is very stupid, but we'll get into it. Were people killed? How, when, and by whom? Germans and non-German guards. Were there actions in the camp?
In the other camps, yes, they had crematorium experience. What I know, in my camps, I saw people walking toward the barracks where the ovens were. Auschwitz, for example, Rosenberg. They killed people right in front.
In Ravensbrück, they were
Ovens?
No?
How do you know? Well, she thinks they were. Go ahead.
I don't know. They said they bringing them to the oven.
So maybe
We
they're
don't know
lying.
everything. They maybe just wanted to take a little more of us, you know.
All right,
No?
well, whatever it was. Go ahead.
Then in front of us, if someone moved not the right way they wanted, or someone looked in the wrong way, they just shoot them down on our eyes. Then
What about in
diseases took a lot of people in all those camps.
What about in Bergen-Belsen? How are the people killed?
The Bergen-Belsen is the last one, as I told you.
Yeah.
You're mixing up that, all right? Over there, by the thousands, they died from typhus. See, because she's given
Oh,
from
well,
Auschwitz to the last one.
That's
So it's a different
They killed? How are they killed?
In the ovens, first of all, and they shoot them. That's simple as I'm gonna stop it.
No, wait. What about in Mielhausen?
In Mielhausen, a few kids died there because from like lung sickness or another disease, colds and things like that.
All right. Were there attempts to escape?
No, not in mine. Not
None
in
of
mine.
them.
No.
What?
All right.
We was watched very, very carefully.
Yeah.
No
All
one ran
over the
out?
electric wires.
Nobody
Never.
ran to the electric wires and
No.
tried to escape?
No.
Was there an organized underground
We
plan?
knew it that it is electric, and you couldn't. We couldn't escape. You're making a circle?
All right. Was there an organized underground?
No.
No.
No. In Warsaw it was, but not in our place.
Okay. Planned resistance? No. And contacts with the outside in any of the camps? None of them? Okay. Was there any attempts at cultural activity, let's say learning, reading,
Oh my
anything?
God! Oh my God! How can they ask such stupid questions? If they know a thing about the concentration camp.
But some people, some
No,
rabbis,
they only want
some
us.
men sat there and they learned.
Why?
They did.
Oh,
The men
not in
did.
concentration camp,
Yes,
please.
yes, they did.
Anja.
Oh no, so they lie. I don't believe in things
Yes,
like
All
you
right.
that,
have to hear
please.
different people. It's very different for other men.
It is. In Ravensburg, were there any children in the camp? Hidden or open?
I didn't see any.
How about in Mielhausen?
No.
No.
We was only the age where we could work.
And
That's it.
Bergen-Belsen also, right?
No children.
No
I
children.
didn't see.
Okay,
Any.
fine. What were the relations between the Jewish inmates? All the Jewish women?
What can I tell you? An hour was pretty good, but in others they killed each other.
Yeah.
But in ours we lived really nicely because we weren't very hungry in Mielhausen. We weren't like animals hungry, like in the ghetto, for example. We had better in concentration camp in Mielhausen than we had in ghetto. We weren't that hungry. They treated us nicely. We weren't afraid that much as in the other concentration camps or in the ghetto.
Let me ask you, was there antagonism between the groups from the same town or between groups, let's say, from different towns, between Polish and other Jews?
As I told you, in the camp where I lived for 6 months,
Yeah.
we was entirely Jewish logic guilds. So no outsider was there.
How about what about between the Jews and the non-Jews? You remember you telling about the gypsies?
Yeah.
So how are the relations?
Nothing. We just laid like lumps, as I said, and they hit us.
Oh, they
That's
did
all.
hit you.
Sure.
Did
They
steal
killed
your bread?
us.
Did they steal food from you?
We didn't have any food to steal from. No, they just killed us. We didn't have any jewelry because we first went to Auschwitz. They took everything.
Right.
So they just killed us.
For no reason.
For no reason, because just that we were Jews. They knew that we're Jewish.
Did you receive help, let's say, from fellow inmates, like when they started hitting you? The other Jewish
No,
girls
they
didn't help?
just went around, like to their own halls, not to get...
Okay.
No.
In Rosenberg, okay?
Ravensbrück.
Right. Were you ill, and how did you recover?
No.
You were fine there.
I
What
was
about in
fine.
Mielhausen?
In Mielhausen, I was ill. I had some blood disease, and I got some. I have it still here. Some marks after this here,
Yeah.
here, and several places.
Blood disease?
A blood disease.
Did you recover? How did you
Yes, you can see that
Yeah.
I did. I didn't.
How about
die.
in Bergen-Belsen?
I was very sick there. As
That
I
was
said,
typhus?
typhus. Yeah.
And you recovered, you told us, in the hospital. The
Hospital, you call it, on a floor.
Very
Typhus
bad.
and covered with lice, I said.
Yeah, but didn't you recover afterwards in the hospital when the English came to get you?
No, after this, when I was liberated already for several weeks, I recovered.
Was there any medical attention of any
No,
kind?
not whatsoever.
No one. All right, describe the clothing and the sanitary conditions in, let's say, Ravensburg. Tell me about the clothing, no clothing.
Just one schmatter we had, from Auschwitz, that's all.
And that's what you wore in Ravensburg and Bergen-Belsen and Mielhausen?
No, in Mielhausen we got a new dress, with the stripes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay. And
At least it was clean.
Oh,
We
okay,
had the
fine.
facilities to clean it, to wash it, hang it out.
Did you or anyone else receive mail or parcels or
No,
anything?
no.
Nothing like that. No?
Oh, boy. Why don't you ask a diamond ring?